Marshmallows, Connor Lynch here, and today I'm bringing you guys a new series, and it's going to be all about the bench press. So the bench press, it's actually a pretty complicated lift, even though it may seem simple. So we're going to have a couple different episodes going over different aspects of the lift. So today we're just going to start with how to warm up for the bench press. It may seem simple, but it gets pretty complicated. So if you guys want to see more about this series, make sure to subscribe because we'll have more of it coming throughout the next couple weeks. Okay, so before we start talking about how to warm up for the lift, let's first go over a little bit of anatomy. So obviously with the bench press, you're going to be working your chest. That's what everybody knows about the bench press. But you're also working your shoulders and your triceps because with any pressing motion, you're going to be using your chest, shoulder, and triceps. But what people don't realize is that you'll actually be using your back, your rear delts, and also your legs as well. Because when you're setting up for a strong bench press, you want to retract your scapula and dig your shoulders into the back of the bench. So you're going to need those muscles a bit warmed up too, as well as your legs, because you're going to want to dig your feet into the floor to get a strong stance to use some leg drive. If you don't know what leg drive is, stay tuned because we'll talk about that later in the series. So let's get to warming up. So the way I start any warm up, whether I'm benching, squatting, or deadlifting, or even doing anything else, I like to start with a foam roller. So we're going to put the foam roller on the ground and we'll start with our back. So you can roll back and forth slightly, leave your hips on the ground as you're doing your lower back. And then once you move up towards your traps and your rear delts, you can bring your hips off the floor to get a bit more pressure onto your shoulders. If you're sitting all day, you're going to have a tight lower back and tight hips as well. So the thing I like to move on to next is your hips. So you want to get the outside of your hips. And also, we can turn over and get the inside of our hips as well. So typically I like to foam roll for about 3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be that long, but trust me, when you start doing it every day you work out or just at least a couple times a week, you'll really notice a difference. So for the next part of the warm-up, you're going to want to grab yourself a band. Most gyms have these, but if they don't, you can order them online for pretty cheap. They're not that expensive. So the way you want to set up the bands, you can put them around a pole like this, or you could put it around the squat rack or a bench rack or anything like that. You get the handle through there, and then take the other side of the band and just put it through like this. And then just pull it until it gets tight. So I find that's about a good height for me. And then we want to do some shoulder external rotations. So you grab the band, keep it in the front of your body, and keep your wrist straight. Don't be using your wrist to pull the band. And we'll just pull out like this. These are great for warming up your shoulders, warming up your rotator cuffs. And we can also do internal rotation as well. So I'll do it with the other side so you guys can see here. So we start with the band out here. You're gonna have to move back a little bit further, and then we pull towards us. You'll also feel your pecs contracting a little bit when you do these. All right, so the next step, once we've done those, I say do maybe 15 reps on each arm. And you don't want a band that has too much resistance. You want one where it's fairly easy to pull. We're not trying to build muscle here. We're just trying to warm our shoulders up, right? So the next step, if the cameraman wants to come around in front of me, we're gonna do external rotations, but above our head here. So you want to hold the band out in front of you, and then bring your arm to a 90-degree angle, like so. And again, we're not using our wrist to pull the band. You don't want to pull with your wrist. You want to use your shoulder. Try to focus on using the muscles in your rotator cuff. And we'll do that on both arms, same thing, maybe 15 reps each arms, and then we can move on. So the next step to this warm-up, you're going to want to grab a pair of dumbbells. These are just 5-pound dumbbells. They're very light. Trust me, don't go heavy with these. This is just a warm-up. We're not trying to build any kind of muscle here. So I like to start with some side lateral raises. These will warm up your shoulders. That's really what we're going for. We want to warm up the shoulders, the triceps, the pecs, the back, everything. And here I just do a superset of common movements. We're going to do some side lat raises, bicep curls. You can mix in some shoulder presses. So the reason we do these movements with the dumbbells is because we just want to get blood flow to our upper body. We just want to get ourselves warm to get ready for the bench press. This is really just to prevent injury and to increase your effectiveness on the bench press. So now that we have our upper body warmed up, it's time to move on to the lower body. So it's important to warm up your hips because if you want to be in a strong position on your bench press, You want to dig your feet in and have your hips open to be able to use your legs to drive. You want to have loose hips, right? So I like to start with some butt kicks just to warm up our quads, warm up our glutes. It's a very simple movement. You just want to bring your ankles as close to your butt as possible. I guess glutes is a more professional word, but I like the word butt. So the last part of my warm-up before I move over to the bench press, I like to stretch my core out. So the way we're gonna do this, I'm gonna get down on a mat and get in a push-up position, and then just slowly move up and open your core. You should feel your abs stretching. And then we can move back. I think this is called the downward dog, but I'm not a yoga guy. And we can stretch our lats out. Like I said, we use our lats in the bench press as well. So that's really it for my warm-up. I do about 5 movements just to get blood flowing throughout my body, to get my body warm and ready to bench press. So next, I would move on to the bench press, but we're not going to do that in this episode. We're not touching the bench yet. So stay tuned for the next episode where we'll be going over how to set up your bench press properly. So if you guys like these videos, make sure to give a thumbs up and stay tuned, because we'll see you next time.